So it's all about the questions that you may have, how-tos within your CRM system, whether it's, to do with the system itself, whether it's your leads in the system. It could also be related to your website as well. So any of those topics where you just have a question, and again, any questions you are asking, others do most definitely benefit from them as well. So feel free to ask away. These are also recorded as always. So if there is anything that you need to kind of recap on or rewatch, they are up on our Vimeo the next day. You guys typically should be getting an email like 24 hours later with all the links to all of our channels. You can use the chat. You guys can use the Q&A session to ask the questions that you may have. You can also raise your hand. So if you feel like your question is better asked verbally, by all means, raise your hand, and we can definitely get you talking. It's saying I wanted to know as to why the note appears when you open the CRM, the one you just X'd out. That's what I meant. So that one there, that's a default, and I don't know why it's always open or the note is always there. I can definitely ask about that because, again, it was more of when it was first introduced, kind of pointing it out, but most definitely if you've kind of gone into it, it should probably not continue popping up. It pops up all the time for me as well. So I could definitely ask, and it has to do with that report center, that listing exposure tool. But I'm not sure why it constantly keeps popping. Yeah, it does. And so that's just your report center. We have gone over that listing exposure tool. This here is really, and again, if you've watched it, and again, I'll put it through to see if our team, if there's a way that they can disable that. If you've checked it out, I think it's because when it first came about, it can be a powerful and useful tool for you guys when you are preparing yourself to go on to like a listing appointment. It can also help with other leads in your system as well. So for those of you that don't know what it is, I can kind of go over it with you. The listing exposure tool is really connected to your system. So, and the feed that you're on. So whether you're a Treb, if you're on PDF, if you're on the Vancouver feed, whatever feed you're on, the data and the numbers of leads that it's exposing you to is reflective of how many leads in the entire agent locator system, not just your dashboard, fall within that criteria. Okay? So let's say you have an appointment. I'm just going to use Toronto. So choosing the city, Toronto. Okay, so I'm just going to apply this one filter so you can see. So based off of all of AgentLocator, with all the websites and all the leads that are currently receiving listings through AgentLocator, it's letting you know that the reach, if you had a listing in Toronto, for example, could potentially reach 345,000 people. Okay, so that's how many leads in the back end of AgentLocator are currently receiving listings for Toronto. It gives you an idea of how many active listings, the active days on the market, and the average price of the homes based on the listings, again, within the system from that specific feed. Now, we can kind of dig a little deeper. Maybe you're going on a listing appointment for a condo. Okay, so when we apply these filters now, we can see how many people then that condo listing could potentially reach. And that's now 127,000 individuals that it would potentially reach that are looking for, and it could be 12,000. I'm not sure if this is an error with a comma, but that's how many people or leads in the system are currently set up to receive listings for condos in Toronto. Now, we can kind of dig a little bit deeper if there's let's say everyone that's looking for a 2-bedroom bathroom in Toronto. And I'm not sure why that gave me an error. Why is my error occurring? Let's take and just hit refresh on here. That's going to make me do it all over again. Fine. So Toronto, condo, bedrooms. And hopefully it doesn't give me an error. Not sure what this error is about. Take that off. Or if the system just punked. I know that they are doing stuff with our CRM system right now. Apply. There we we go. And let's see if I add the bedrooms, if it's still going to give me the error. If it gives me the error, we'll go through the price point. Yeah, something it doesn't like something with the error, that I'll report as well. But really, when we go into here, what it's doing is just kind of giving you an idea of how many people your listing could potentially reach. So where this is benefiting is kind of utilizing as this is my database, right? So even though all those leads are not your leads, we can say, like, you know, if we list your home between, or your condo between, let's say, 650,000 and let's just say 850, this is very broad, obviously, what it would potentially do, and hopefully this one doesn't give us an error, it tells you how many people it's going to potentially reach in the system. So you can say, if we list your home or your condo, let's say at 700,000, it's potentially reaching 127,000 individuals, or it could be 12,000. Again, I'm not sure if this is an error in the system. But that's how many people. So as soon as you list the property, you can say it's going to reach this many people through the database. So kind of like leveraging your agent locator on the platform of how many potential buyers this listing is going to be exposed to just through our system alone. Okay, so and it tells you how many current listings that fall within that price point and the average days on the market and the average price of those listings as well. Okay, so that's what this tool is for. I will put in a thing with respect to the bedrooms. I'm not sure if that's just me right now that this is happening to, because it's never happened before, but I will put a video in with respect to that. But it can be beneficial, especially, you know, for the awareness of any listing and a listing appointment you're going on, is that exposure that it's going to get. So this is just one kind of, you know, facet of exposure is your agent locator system. And again, it's all reflective of your current board and those listings. So it's not all the entire listings that are out there. It's just respective of your current board and the leads that would be receiving listings through that specifically. For those of you that have hopped on here, this is our open Q&A session. So any questions that you do have, feel free to use them in the chat or put them in the chat, the Q&A. If you have a question that's better suited verbally, by all means, you know, raise your hand. I'll allow you to speak. It can be questions relative to your CRM, your leads, or also your website. So if there's any how-tos or questions you would just like to learn a little bit more about, then by all means, ask away. So Shabana is asking if we can go into a little bit the street match. So going over the new street match. So the new street match isn't really different from the old street match. It just gives you more capabilities. And again, when we're looking at, and I'll just open up the website, it's just setting up their searches differently. So anyone on the automated program, on your branded website, you're going to have the street match on there. I'm not sure if I have it on here. I don't have it on here. But you're going to have this street match as, you know, a landing page on there, and people are still going to be set up to receive listings. Now, when you do have your listings going out, it's just going out differently, and you have more control over the listings that are actually going out. So let me just open up, and I believe this site is an automated site. Just to open that up, and it is not an automated site. So let me quickly, and again, you guys, with respect to these, for example, this is a lead gen site. You guys can add the home worth and street match page landing pages to your lead gen site. That way, any leads that are currently receiving listings from you, they are brought into this website and they will see all the menu options. So I'm just going to quickly add that page in here. So we'll walk through that just so we can run through the street match. So what you're going to want to do is click on your website, and you're going to go into Site Manager. So this is where your automated sites are sitting. When you typically land in here, you're going to see a few different options sometimes. If you only have a lead gen site, you're only going to see that, but it will display all your current active websites in here. Now, when we click on the website that we want to edit, we're going to be brought into the dashboard, and you can change from website to website. So if anytime I want to toggle to a different website to make any changes, you definitely can. From here, we navigate to the page builder. This is all the this one hidden? So it should be on there. We navigate to all of these current pages here, and I just realized I didn't go into the lead gen site. That's why. So it'll navigate through all of the pages that you have currently on that website. Now, what I really like about this editor versus our legacy system, if any of you guys are on that legacy system, is the ease of being able to move your menu items around. Okay, so as you move them around, if we go here and I just hit refresh, we're going to notice that a couple of them have changed as to where they are placed in order and sequence. So that's one thing. Now, to add a page, if we want to add another menu item, we're simply clicking on the plus sign here. And in this case, we are adding a landing page. Okay, so we're going to go next, and we're going to add the net landing page. So we have the choice of choosing Street Match. We have the choice of choosing Homeworth. So in this case, we want to add that Street Match landing page. We're going to go next. The name is what shows on the page. The title is what shows on the tab up here. Okay, so I'm going to go, and I'm just going to call this Street Match 2, just because I'm not sure if there was one that might be hidden right now. We don't want it to interfere with the URLs. And then we can show the tab on Google. We can just call this one, I'm just going to call this, neighbors, just so you guys can see. So when we create that, it's going to bring you into the editor for that page. You guys can edit this. You can change the images, all of that fun stuff. When we go into the edit option, it gives you, so you can change anything that it says in here. One thing you'll want to look at is this footer text. It is defaulted. To just say that it doesn't default to your actual information. So just be wary of that, or aware of it. You can put whatever you really want. You don't have to have anything in there because it is on your website with the footing anyway, with all your information. You click apply. Now, another great thing about this, again, we can change that image if we want to. You guys also have the settings here, right? So we have the ability then for you guys to add SEO keywords, a little bit description to help boost this, like some rankings, and actually have some indexing on Google with respect to these pages. So you can add keywords as to what people may find on this page, and then a little description there. But what we're going to do is we're going to publish this page because we want it live on the website. So I'm just hitting published, and I'm going to close it. Now, when I go and view the live site, we're going to see that the Street Match has now been added onto the website itself. So again, you guys can do this with Street Match. You can do it with, get your online home evaluation. And both of these actually act very similarly. Street Match, when we sign up for it, it's going to set them up to receive listings from you. Now you can, of course, this is from the client side. You don't have to go through your website to set people up on Street Match. You most definitely can. One very, very quick and important note to make is if you are signing people up through the website, make sure that you are in an incognito/private browser when you do. That way the cookies are not saved, because what happens is our browser saves the cookies. So if you're, and all the information you've entered on the website, okay? So if you're in a regular browser, even though you log out, and let's say you go back into your website and try to create a new lead with information, it still may remember the previous person that you just were on and update their account instead of creating a new lead, if that makes sense to you. But I was just caution, go, and anytime you're adding a client or a lead to a specific landing page, just always do it through the incognito window to ensure that it actually creates a new lead and doesn't update an existing lead that you may be in within their profile previously. Now, when somebody does go on the Nosy Neighbor, I can go, I'll just always use my old address. On here, they select the area that they're in. They can move this around. Okay, so that's one thing that's different than the other one. They can choose the type of home that they have, the radius. So if they wanted a bigger radius, they can. Their first name, so I'll just create a lead here, Street Match. And then an email. So with the email, I know that I have several in here. So I have to always create a different one. homes.ca and submit. So when it comes to Street Match and HomeWorth, so both of them in the CRM system are going to act very similarly. The difference is on the website here, it brings them in here. They need to validate to see the sold data. So if you guys have access to sold listings, they can, of course, see that sold data. When they're signing up for HomeWorth, it's going to give them the average prices, right? So the average price of the active listings. And again, if you have the sold data, it's going to tell them the active, the sold, data based on the reflective of that area. So the average sale price of those homes. Now, as we go into the agent locator system, and I'm just going to hit refresh here, we'll see that the lead has been created in here. You'll also see that the lead type is seller. So anytime it is a Street Match or a HomeWorth, they do come in as a seller lead. And you'll notice over here that next to that, I call this the stack of coins. It's the number of saved searches. There's 2 for this individual. This is a TREB feed. So again, any board that has access to sold listings, they will be set up to receive active listings around their address. They'll also be set up to receive sold listings around their address. If your board does not currently release any kind of sold data, they will be set up to receive the active listings around their home. Now, as we go into this lead, we can see that information down below. So we can see the address gets added up here for that individual, as well as we're able to see that information. So we can see the active and the sold. Where this is beneficial from a previous version of Street Match or the legacy version is that you now have full control of those listings. So you can actually send them direct comps. So if you know, like we know that this is a house, right? But maybe we want to now be specific. We want to say this is actually a detached home. So we want to make sure that we're only sending them detached homes in here. We can also get to say, even if it's bedrooms. So if we want to be specific is, we only want to make sure that we're sending bedroom, like detached homes that have 3 bedrooms. So we can send them more direct comps of their home versus just a generalized detached homes in that area or all the properties, right? So we're able to see the information that would be sent to them. And then again, anytime in this case, an active listing comes on the market, they'd be that the 3-bedroom detached within that radius. And again, you can change it. They're going to be sent that listing. And the same idea goes for the sold. So if you only want to send them direct comps with the sold, we don't want to send them, homes that, let's say this house didn't have a basement, like homes that have basements and finished basements, all that stuff. We don't want to include those. We can definitely exclude those types of properties. So it just allows you to send them more direct comps this way. Now, again, if you didn't want to set somebody up or set them up through the website, you could set them up, through Street Match just by adding a search, right? So whether it's active and sold, I always kind of put in the filter name, active listings for, and then the address, that you're targeting essentially for those active listings. And then the same idea, sold listings for, around, and then their address. And then you just build out that search, right? So your first one would be either a radius. So again, if you build out a radius, you just simply choose the radius option, show map, and then you just type in the address. What's great is that it will drop a pin for you. So as we scroll down, we can actually move this around. We can increase that radius, decrease, and so on. And then we just apply that range. And again, you just build out your search no differently than you would any other search. And then we have the other option is the polygon. So sometimes a property falls into a unique area, a radius is kind of like, it covers a good chunk of it, but we want to be making sure we're including, a specific area. So when we do the radius or the polygon rather, in this case, it does not drop a pin. So it's knowing where that property is. I know it's right in here. We can draw the radius. So the benefit of the radius is you can be specific. So I can say, anything from maybe I don't want all of this because this is, I personally know, is an older neighborhood. A lot of these homes, some bigger ones on this corner lot that wouldn't be a direct comp. Entirely up to you guys, of course. But we can then, be more specific. So I can kind of drop my pins to allow for, I want to make sure that only the homes that kind of fall over to here and then up to this area are included in that. So we can be more specific as to the area, or perhaps it was like this, you can draw this whole little like quadrant there. So you can kind of predefine and pick and choose. And again, you would just apply that polygon and then continue building your search. And let me just see, I'm just seeing there, connect to my website, the browser itself. I'm not sure if you're with your merchant, so Hassan's just asking about connecting to his website. Yours, and I'm just seeing, because I don't know if yours specifically, if your merchant home sales, so you are on the very two. Yeah, so I'm not sure. This is something you would have to reach out to support for if you're not able to connect your website on the browser itself. You should be able to. So, and again, it could be a caching. I know you're a smart guy, but I would kind of run through support with that as to why you're not able to do that. Anyone have any questions with respect to the street match here? Again, you can build it out. You have way more control building it out this way than you do the previous version, because the previous version, you could really only enter the type of home, location, and kind of do that radius. Like you really couldn't be very specific. They just kind of got sent everything. Here it allows you, and in some cases, with new homes popping up in older neighborhoods and things like that, you may need to be and want to be more specific as to exactly what's being sent to your leads and so on. Perfect. So again, any question, we can always bounce back on this, but I hope that gives you a better understanding as to the street match. And again, you guys do have that ability with respect to a campaign, even if somebody does come in through street match, if you had a campaign you wanted to build, and you can assign them automatically. So leads that come in off street match, you can develop or create a campaign and just automatically throw it on, or clone an existing campaign and modify it specifically for street match. Yeah, so you have, and I'm just looking for your website. Yeah, your website, it says there is an error, so I'm not sure why there's an error, but your website, I believe you did do an upgrade to the V2. So I'm not sure why it's giving an error, but yeah, support's going to be able to help with that, because there's something going on. It could be the domain connection, something funky is with that. So if you are on the V2, you're able to add those descriptions just like I had shown you. But on the legacy system, definitely you guys do have that ability to add the SEO keywords and tags to most pages, not all the pages. So that's one of the enhancements on the automated, is that you can actually add keywords and descriptions to all the pages on your website. Now we do have somebody asking, what can you do with the leads that have a red triangle on them? What's the difference between the unsubscribed leads and the leads that have this triangle? So the triangle is that when you are you referring to the text messages having the failed triangle, or are you referring to, like, there's a little triangle kind of in this kind of area when you open up the lead, there's like a triangle in this area? So is it the SMS or by the contact information that you're seeing that triangle? Yeah, by the contact. Okay. So what you've done, and it really depends again. So in order to get that triangle, it's because in your user preferences, and I believe it's under the company settings, you've enabled the castle settings. All right. So when you enable the castle settings, and you can turn it off if you really want to. What the castle settings is, and really it kind of comes down to being compliant with the anti-spam. Where this is actually something that you really need to worry about is when you have a website. So for example, the legacy website, previous websites, people were being forced to sign up forced registration. It's great. You got leads. You'd have to set them up to receive listings and so on. They weren't actually signing up for your services or to receive listings. They were signing up just to view the listing. So it's implied consent, right? It's implied that they're going to be contacted because they provided you their contact information. And I believe it's 6 months that you can actually continuously like mass email them and, you know, be included in that database. With your new website, with these automated sites, people are actually signing up to receive what you're providing them. So the castle settings are a little bit different in that sense, is because it's actually not implied. It's actually they've given you consent to. So you can, if that's your situation where you've kind of turned this on, the castle settings, you can go ahead and turn that off. But what it does basically is you can still email this person. They haven't unsubscribed. It's the system you've turned the castle settings on. So what it's going to do is it's going to prevent you from mass emailing them or sending them listings automatic, like things that are automatic or in mass quantities. The system will actually block you from being able to do that, kind of like a blanket, a safety blanket in that. So it's kind of like where you want to, if you have it, and I'm not sure because I had it on, but usually so you have implied and express. So express consent, so you can turn this on, means that this isn't going to turn off on you, okay? This kind of gives you, okay, currently I'm not logged in. You can click on this to get some more information on it. There should be an article. But anyone, if you have this for people that have signed up through old methods, you imported them, what have you, they didn't actually sign up to receive information from you. They were signing up just to gain access to something. That's implied. It's implied that they're going to be contacted. And then you have, I believe it's a 6-month period where you can continuously mass email them, include them on this, that, and whatever. But once that time frame is up, the system's going to block any kind of automatic email communications to that person. Okay. So if you need to keep this on because of different things that you were doing in the past or how they registered, the people that come through your automated site is an express consent. They have given you permission to contact them. They're signing up for your services and acknowledging right on that registration that they are agreeing to be contacted by you as well. So hopefully that helps you out. Perfect. So I hope that helped you out with your question there, or anyone that's wondering what that castle settings is. But be very careful, because you can all of a sudden, a lot of people have turned it on and now a bunch of your leads have stopped receiving your regular communications because that was enabled. So it was put on previously. We've merged it over. In many cases, it's not applicable to the majority of your leads, but there could definitely be some in there. So hopefully that helps you out there with that one there. I'm gonna go back in here. Again, you guys, any questions that you have, use the Q&A, raise your hand, use the chat. It can be anything related to your system in here, any questions that you may have. One thing I know that a lot of us utilize is the e-campaign, so I kind of talk about that for a moment. We may want to make edits to existing campaigns. When you go into your campaign section, so to see what campaigns are being automatically assigned, you can go to your by assignment and anything that's auto assigned. So in this system, again, it's not going to be a mirror image of yours because we've added, and it's a training CRM system, but you're going to be able to see exactly which campaigns are being auto assigned to your leads. When you click on the little auto assigned, it's going to let you know how they're being auto-assigned to your leads as well. Now, you do have the ability in here to, of course, modify or change that auto-assignment. So if we wanted to edit this campaign, so this is one that many of you are going to find attached to your leads, is just clicking on the edit option. If you wanted to change how a campaign is automatic or turn on automatic assignment for any campaign, you're just clicking on that option and you're selecting the requirements for that. If any of you guys need assistance with auto assigning, we can definitely help with that, but you can do it so it's only at the time the person registers that it would auto assign. And, you know, typically it could be just a type of lead or a type of lead and a specific source that they came from. So you can get kind of creative with how they're auto assigned. Always means that it doesn't matter when they're in your system. It means that at any time I add a specific tag to somebody, or if at any time I change who the agent is, or if any time they reach a certain pipeline, I want this campaign to trigger. Okay, so that's what the always means. Registration means at the time they first come into your system. Now, if you're looking to make changes to your campaign, this is where you're able to do so. So you're able to see for example, the SMS content that is actually going out. Now, the first message, and I'm always going to caution you guys, this is an autoresponder. So it acts like an autoresponder. So when that lead signs up, it goes out within a minute of them registering, acknowledges it, gives them, educates them on how they can opt out of SMS communication, as well as a link to download the app. Okay, so to get them to download the app. And again, remembering that each person that does download the app are signing up for Street Match as well. So it's beneficial. Now you gain their address, you start nurturing them in an additional way, as well as, just there's typical signing up for listings to purchase. Now, this whole replying stop. Okay, this is the only time you will see it in the campaign, and it is required. So it is required, kind of like the rules like you have for Castle. When we're communicating now to individuals through SMS, they have to have an understanding of how they can opt out of SMS communication. Okay, so this has to be in there. These actually, in all of these messages that do go out, actually get monitored. So a while back, I'd say probably like 3 years ago, we were noticing that so many messages were failing, even though there were valid numbers. And that was one of the reasons why, is we weren't educating the consumer on how they can opt out. So it took some time. We had to fix some things, change the pop-up on the website when they register to include certain information, and now they go through. So you want to make sure that they do know how to opt out of SMS communications, but you can change what it says or how it's worded if you wish to. Anything in brackets is short code, right? So this lead visited user website, this is your website URL, okay? So whatever it is, it's pulling in that information automatically. And where this is beneficial is using short code is if you have 3 different websites or even the 2 different websites, it's always going to reflect on the site that they signed up at. So don't just change it to the website URL, because they might have actually in fact signed up on your other website, not the one that you put in there. But you can change. So just remember that these are all case sensitive. So if you are making changes to them, just, be careful of anything within brackets. I will kind of zoom out a little bit just so you guys can see. But in here, when you click on anything that's in the short code, you're going to see this little A. It kind of pops up. When you click on it, it does give you the short codes here as well. So if you wanted to throw short codes in the SMS, you definitely can. Now, as you kind of go through, that's the same with all the other ones as well. So you'll be able to take a look to see what's being sent to your leads. This one here is just letting them know that they're getting those listings, from that website, yada, yada, yada. Again, short code, the city that they were mostly looking at the listings in, the type of properties that they looked at, and so on. So again, if you want to change these to sound, a little bit more personable, or how you would like to first initially reach out to a lead, you can most definitely do that. There's nothing that's stopping you from doing that. Okay, so you can even, so one thing just to kind of put in there is we're seeing these 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 day. That's the delay period. Say, if I wanted to change this one, so we're on the second SMS right now, and it's scheduled to go out 5 minutes after that autoresponder. Okay? Now, if we scroll down to the bottom, this is where we're going to see that delay. So if we wanted to maybe delay it by 10 minutes instead, we can do so. We're just going to hit update. And then now that one's scheduled to go out 10 minutes after that one. We also have, and you also have, the ability to throw in additional information. So if you hit the plus sign, maybe you want to create and throw in an additional text in here or an email in there. You definitely can. With the emails, again, same idea as the SMS. You can build this out. So you can write the email right in here. Your short codes are right here. You also, of course, I always find it easier to have it as a template. So if we wanted to, select the template we want, then all of that is automatically pulled for you. This is just an existing one that I've created. You have rules. So typically an email will come from the main agent on the account. You can actually specify, so depending on the campaign or your, to your team status, whatever it might be, you can actually make it so that it comes from a different, not the main agent assigned, but maybe it comes from the mortgage agent, if you have a mortgage lender in your system, things like that, or a very specific person in the system. You can also have stopping clauses. So stopping clauses you're going to find typically on the majority of this campaign if you're looking at it, because once you make contact with your lead, that's when this campaign stops, right? So if any time their pipeline reaches a made contact or anything further than that, the campaign just automatically, none of the actions are going to go out. It served its purpose. So that's what stopping clauses are. So you can have it so that this action stops, it will not go out if you have a specific tag on that person or their pipeline has reached a specific status. And then you have your delay periods. So maybe I want this one to go out, 3 days after that text message. You can include silent hours on SMS and the emails as well. So silent hours is really from what time at night. So let's say anything from 10 p.m. to 10, like say 9:45 a.m. Anything, this is not going to action. So meaning, between these hours, this email is not going to go out. Even if it was scheduled to go out at, let's say, 10:30, it's going to wait until 9:45 in the morning to actually go out, and then we save it, and then we can see that we have the thank you for registering. That was just added in there. So I'm just looking here. So somebody is asking, do you need to have a stopping clause on each of the actions? It really depends on the campaign. Okay, so this campaign, you can have it. So for example, the new buyer app link. So we have these stopping clauses on the main level of the campaign because when we didn't want to include the made contact, all of that, because if somebody replies to the first text, like to say, okay, thanks, we didn't really make contact with them, right? So we still want the campaign to run, or at least the first couple texts of your campaign to actually run. So we only have it if, like, let's say you called them right away and set a meeting, well, that campaign is going to stop, right? Because the second message, or the third message, I should say, most of them will reply to the second message, which is this one right here, right? When we send it out, they don't usually reply to this first one. The message that falls right after that is basically works for both a buyer, not a buyer, but both if you've made contact with somebody or if you haven't. So it's not this one, so it's a different one. Maybe it's this one. These are all kind of kibosh from what they were. Yeah, so no. So the message that goes out the day after is basically kind of like customer service. Hey, Crystal, just checking to make sure that you received, that you're able to view the listings I sent you. Okay. Right. So it works in a scenario where we've actually spoke to somebody or had a conversation or replied to a text. It also works for somebody that we haven't yet, because again, it's kind of peaking them. So that's why our automatic assignment, when you're looking at your campaign here, not the automatic assignment, the stopping clauses, they're set like this, and then each individual action actually has stopping clauses on it. Now, if this was just a general campaign that you're running, you can have it so that it just triggers. You don't have to put it on each action. It's just the whole campaign stops if they reach a certain status. So let's say this is a campaign on, I always kind of use mortgage pre-approval because it's easy. Let's say this campaign is all about pre-approvals and tips and guides to people, with respect to that. You can have it so on the whole thing here, for example, if we apply the tag now that they've been pre-approved, the whole campaign just shuts down, right? We don't need to keep educating them on the importance of gaining pre-approvals. They've now done that. So that, I hope that kind of answers, but that also is kind of beneficial because you guys can build campaigns that continuously run. So maybe you have this where certain actions don't run if you've made contact, but certain actions still run even if you've made contact with them, right? Or they're different things. So maybe, and again, kind of circling back, let's pretend this email right here is all about the importance of a pre-approval, right? We obviously, if we know that the person's already been pre-approved, we wouldn't want that email to go out necessarily to somebody that's already been pre-approved. So we could have it so that if they have that pre-approved tag, right? So you guys should only see one in your system, that it'll just skip over this action is basically what will happen. So the campaign will continue to run. Oh, this person's got that pre-approved tag on them. We're not going to send them this email about pre-approvals. We're just going to carry on with the rest of the campaign in there. Now, for you guys that do want more in depth, there is tutorials. So, because the campaigns, I always say, like, build a campaign. It's always easier to create email templates, SMS templates, then drag and drop with the short codes, all that fun stuff. And then you can reuse them in one-off scenarios as well. They're not just limited to your campaigns. But build it out. And then I always say, reach out. We can definitely review it together and make sure that it is set up in the way that you anticipated it going out, right? Because sometimes we second guess ourselves, or we're just not 100% sure. We want to make sure for sure that it's going to do exactly what it's intended to do in there. Now, as we go into, and I know you guys, I'm just zooming out so I can kind of pull this stuff. You do have, actually, I just need the heart. You guys do have this heart on the left-hand side there. This brings you into training.agentlocator.ca. Okay, so when you're in here, if you go to the home page and scroll down, right here, you're going to have tutorials. So this course for beginners is really, and I do encourage you guys to watch these videos. I know a lot of you guys have gone through the AdSemi stuff. These ones, some of them are are the same. Some of them are not the same, but it kind of goes through different things. So navigating your dashboard, right? Administrative tools. So it's kind of breaking down into different categories for you so you can find different things. And so there is one, of course, on emails, mass emails. There is also a whole section just on email campaigns as well. So kind of understanding the difference between the various types of campaigns, building campaigns. You guys can clone campaigns. So you can create, variables. So the cloning is a great one for a lot of individuals because it keeps you, it depends on what it is. So you can clone one of our campaigns and kind of restructure it. So you're not messing with the original one, you're keeping that one there. But you might want to take one and, clone it to create some difference. So it's easy to do. You just, when you're going to create a campaign, and instead of actually filling and building out all this stuff, you're just cloning an existing campaign. So if we took something, let's say I wanted to clone this rental campaign, I can clone it. And then I'm going to have all the stuff. You can change the name of it, right? And then you have that whole campaign that's already there. So you don't have to keep, rebuild a campaign. You can kind of take what's already there and modify it. And this can work in different scenarios for you guys as well, right? So playing around and tweaking different campaigns and adding to them and without affecting the original campaigns in there. So Hassan, to get to that training, on the left-hand side of your CRM system, you guys have that heart. Okay, so the heart is here on the left-hand side. This heart also flashes to you guys when there's an update. That's also why when we click on it, it brings us to the latest releases. Okay, so if it's ever flashing, it's kind of educating you on the latest releases. They're always there for you guys to view at any time. Once you're on this page, though, we want to go to home. Right? So when we go to the home page and we scroll down, we're going to be able to see that this CRM, the course for the beginners, is right there. Just as all your tutorials. And also for those of you that want to learn and be a little bit more proactive with your website, you also have all the tutorials for your website editor as well in here. So those are all there for you guys to watch. And same idea, it's all broken into different categories depending on what it is that you're looking to do or update on the website and so on. So sorry, I'm just kind of going through different things. Respect to that, campaigns. So Shabana says, after adding to them, how would we set the new one up to be active rather than the original one? Oh, okay. So if we're adding a campaign, okay. So we'll go back. So if we're adding a campaign and we want to turn, basically in here. So again, what we're doing is, again, making sure we're finding the one that's auto-assigned. Okay, so if, let's say I want to take this one, right? So this is the one that we just is currently that we're replacing. We're just going to go into the edit option and you're going to go to the auto assignment. What you're going to want to pay attention to as well, and it really depends, everyone's scenario could be different, is you want to take a look at how it's being auto assigned. So in this case, it was always one tag, not buying now, right? If we were not seeing multiple tags being selected, it would tell you, comma separated all the tags that were selected. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. Then we're just going to delete that, right? It's not going to delete the campaign, it's deleting the auto assignment on here. We're just going to go yes. And then you would find your other campaign, let's say, that you wanted to. So if we change this and just go all, for example, say it was my rental campaign now I want to, I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to go into the automatic assignment and then I'm going to choose. So if it's a lead at registration, so if you guys are doing the rental, the buyer campaign, it's always at registration for those ones. And then typically it's going to be, so if this one here, so this is the rental campaign, I would want to make sure that I'm selecting my rental. So anyone that comes in to my system as a rental lead would now be automatically assigned to this campaign. On the last example, they were doing it by always, right? So we would make sure it wasn't the rental. It could be rental. You can piggyback these and then have that tag, right? Not buying now was what that tag was that they had selected. And then you just set in here. So you can be very specific again, but if you're just replacing it, in most cases, it's going to be a lead type. And in some cases, it really depends. You're going to notice sources. Okay. And the reason they do this is just to protect you in case you have Facebook campaigns running as well as Google campaigns, or if you decide to do something. So what you're going to see in the sources is the AL sources that they've created. Okay. So it'll be your website URLs, and then it might be AL buyers Oakville, for example. You'll see the different ones selected. You'll want to just select those. So just in case you are creating leads, let's say through Facebook, that come in as a buyer lead, you want to have them on a different campaign than your Google leads, because just the initial wording in the first of the SMS messages, if that makes sense to you. That's something you can kind of cross that bridge when you get there, but just make sure you have the lead type, which in most cases, if you're editing the buyer, it's going to say home buyer, and then the sources. So the sources will be all the AL, Google, PPC, custom sources that you see in there, plus your website URLs. Anything to do with just the URL, nothing to do with like seller or street match, anything like that, because those are seller leads. You want to make sure that it's always like that. So hopefully that helps. And again, we can definitely assist with that if you need the, just the reassurance at the time you're doing it to make sure it's being done properly, 100%. So Tracy's asking, how do you attach a document to a campaign email? You cannot do that at this point. Unfortunately, in the campaigns, I cannot have attachments in those emails. They would have to be sent as a one-off email, not part of a campaign. If you were in need a document in a campaign, what I suggest doing is having it uploaded somewhere. If it's just kind of like a generalized, general kind of document that you need to send to them, is have it uploaded somewhere like a Dropbox or Google Docs, something like that. where you can just include the link for them to open that article or the document in externally, but you can't have a, so to speak, quote unquote, document attached to the actual email itself. Not in a campaign. You can otherwise, but just not as part of a campaign. So hopefully with that, and again, yes, stopping clauses do not need to be on all of the actions if you don't want them to go out. Like if you don't care if the actions are going out, then no, you don't need a stopping clause. If you do care if the actions are going out, so if you're, let's say, and why we have it with our campaign is because most of those text messages are, hey, just checking in, I haven't heard from you, right? Well, if you talk to the person, they're gonna say, well, I talked to you. Like, what do you mean you haven't heard from me? That's why there's the whole purpose of the initial campaigns that we're assigning to your lead is to get them to be responsive to you, right? So they're worded and have different things that indicate that we haven't had any response for them. Right, so that's why there's stopping clauses on them. If you have a campaign that's maybe educational, that's just kind of guiding somebody on, tips and tricks and, whatever it might be, then you don't necessarily need a stopping clause on each action. You can have the stopping clause, let's say, on the whole campaign, that once you have, let's say, move this person to you're showing them homes, for example, you've now either signed an agreement showing home or you sold them, that's what stops that campaign. Right? Because now we don't need to educate them on different things and enlighten them on different things. We've now secured them as a client, and we're acting as that. So it really depends on what the campaign is about, nonetheless. So a commercial clients looking for commercial rental building, dealership therapist, to use Realm, provide them with, I wish to, you can use, yes. There is in your website and in your, you have the ability. So in here, I'll just kind of show you, is you do have commercial listing in here now. So you do have the commercial. And so you can actually, select which commercial properties they are. And of course, you do also have that in the system as well. Okay, so I think it was last year we actually introduced, I think, the commercial fee, because we do have a lot of individuals that work in commercial. So it would be when we're adding the search in here, in many cases it'd be, for leases, but when we go into the type of home, it'd be type of home. I don't know if it's gonna add me, maybe under subtype. So you do have the ability to kind of choose things like this, which is more kind of like you have like industrial, investment, land, kind of going through like that. If we want to do the type of home, that one is always, it has to be done through the website for some reason. So it's like the property type. But the subtype is kind of now, because the type of property would be commercial and the subtype is what type of commercial. Okay, so it's kind of just mixed in with the properties that are non-commercial, so residential properties as well. But you can kind of go in there and gain kind of a look to see that these are commercial properties that are for sale in here. But of course, in many cases, they are leases. So hopefully it helps you out. Anyone that does do commercial, you do now have that ability to nurture your commercial leads through your agent locator. You can also run commercial campaigns as well, right? So if you're looking and doing that, you can do that. So your website, Hassan, you said your website is working now. That's great. And I'm just going to kind of look at your stuff. It is working, but you do have your commercial stuff on there. The only thing that they have done is, there we go. Yeah, so you are on the V2 platform now. So you're able to add those meta tags and keywords to your website pages through the way that I had shown in the back end. So again, that's going through your site manager, right? No, and I'm just, so you want me to take on the screen, so just kind of showing on here. And the way that you guys know that you're on the automated is just basically if your searches on the pages show like this, you're on the automated platform. That's just how I can quickly look on there. With your site, Hassan, I can definitely create a video for our support team They didn't, and I don't know when they did this upgrade, but one of the things that I know that they didn't do is actually create the proper redirects. So if I go into communities, some of these pages are broken. Like this is working, but if it is more of the ones on the home page, I can't edit the home page ones, I don't think. But if I click on some of these, I'm getting some Travolta action here. That's how I know that it's kind of not working. The pages are there. These links need to be fixed right here in there. But yes, you are on the automated platform with that. So you will be able to add all those meta tags and descriptions and things like that. Perfect. Well, we are almost at the wrap here. So at the end of things, yeah, and that's it. Like some of them are broken, and that's really just when they merge it over. The URLs kind of change, and so they do it, and then they just had to relink, although it wasn't exactly the same, and that's why it's doing that. One thing that I really like about the new platform is that you guys actually have that ability to, so for example, if I just go in here, that you can actually change. So one of the biggest things that you guys are doing is marketing and email, like whatever it might be, whether it's print, anything, is the URL plays a big factor, right? We want to make it easy for the person to find it or like look clean in an email, for example. So you actually have that ability to create so the page URL to whatever you want it to be. Right. So it's going to be, in this case, it would be the Agent Locator, like lead gen 1. But if I go into the Brampton Homes with Suites, you're going to see that it's training lead gen. And then it's this URL. Well, actually, it's funny, BSGGGG. If I wanted that on my marketing, I could essentially have it and it will direct people to this page. Right. So that's one of the things that's very useful. I know a lot of you guys create different pages. Or information specific to different things. So having that, clean and tidy URL is beneficial for some at times. Sure. Perfect. Well, we are at a wrap today. I do appreciate everyone that jumped in and asked your questions. I know that others did benefit from it as well. And I hope that you guys did take away something from this that you are now going to jump into your system, maybe make some changes, add some landing pages to your website. Your websites are your online stores. Always remember that. If you had a storefront, you need to get people to it, right? They need to know your store exists. Your website's the exact same thing, but online. You guys do pay for traffic to get those leads, which is awesome. But if there's anything that you could also be doing to your website to help get that traffic on there, always be doing it, because traffic equals leads to new business. Right. So if there's anything in the future webinars that you do want to cover, just let me know. I think I've scaled these sessions back to once every other week, just because you can only go over these things so much, and the question asking was quite low. So I found I was like repeating myself on a lot of the same topics and kind of going over. So I've kind of given a little bit more of a gap there for you guys to be kind of working in your business and on your business. And obviously, naturally, while we're doing that, those questions do arise. When you do come across, or if you do come across anything at any time, by all means, reach out via email. I'd be more than happy to send you instructions on how to go about doing whatever it is, or evaluating a campaign if you guys are going to kind of dive in and take a little bit of action on that. But more than happy to assist. And then we can always take some of those questions as well and utilize them in the future webinars as well. But thank you everyone that did pop in and did ask those questions, and we'll see you next time. Hassan, you have your mortgage. Yes, you can have a mortgage website with else, and just really depends on what you're having. And often we hyperlink it to the back end stuff of, if you have forms and things like that on a different platform, we hyperlink it that way. But thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you all again soon.